Hey guys, what is going on? Jurgen from ZurGrinoSports here, and today I'm coming at you with the Wrestlemania 37 predictions video on my channel. I'm going to put both nights of Mania into one predictions video, so the video will have predictions for tonight's WrestleMania and then tomorrow's WrestleMania. I'm using the WWE.com website as the source of the matches, so if for any reason a last minute edition gets made after I make this, I don't know what to say, but I don't think it will. I mean, I'm recording this at 9:20 in the morning of WrestleMania Night 1 on Saturday, so I feel like the match card is pretty much set in stone going forward. So, yeah, man. Before we get into it, let me know what you guys think of Mania. Are you excited? Are you not excited? Let me know what your predictions are down in the comments below. If you'd like to join the Discord server, there is a link in the description of this video and of every video for the Discord server for the channel. We have a voice chat channel where we all get in there and watch along pretty much to the pay-per-view. So if you want to watch along, I know with COVID and everything, at least in my situation in my country / city, we're not allowed to go anywhere right now. We kind of on a stay-at-home order, but if you're in the same boat, but you still want to watch the wrestling with other people, join the Discord server, man. We go in there, we meme while we watch, and it's all good fun. So, yeah, man, without further ado, we'll get into the review. I'm using, like I said, the WWE.com website, so I'll go night 1, then night 2. And then I'm just doing it in the order of the match graphics that they have on their WrestleMania 37 like preview tab or whatever. So for night 1, they have Cesaro versus Seth Rollins as the first match. I'm very excited for this because it is potentially finally the start of a Cesaro push. Cesaro being taken seriously. It's a simple build, obviously, but it's really good for Cesaro because Seth is one of their most protected guys. He's almost on the same level, if not at the same level, as Roman in terms of being protected. He rarely loses, clean, all this stuff. So, with Seth being so highly regarded by management, they protect him so much. If they give us a clean Cesaro win here, I think that signifies from management, hey, we're going to take him seriously. And I think that signifies to, casual audiences, hey, he beat Seth Rollins. We saw Seth Rollins beat Triple H. We saw Seth Rollins cash in on Brock and Roman. Seth Rollins is good, dude. And now Cesaro beat him without any help? Yo, he's good too. So I think a clean win not only gives us that indication from the management, from the creative, that, hey, we're going to finally give this guy what he deserves, which is a big push because he's fucking fantastic. It also signifies to casual fans like, okay, get on board. We had him beat somebody that we've protected very, very strongly in a clean manner. I am going to predict Cesaro's going to win. If Seth Rollins wins and there's no story that makes it worth it in the end, it's just Cesaro should go to AEW. He should go to New Japan. He should go somewhere because they don't value him there. But you know what I mean? I think... my official prediction is going to be Cesaro winning. I think that's what they're going to do as well. So, you know what I mean? That's the right thing to do. It would be huge for Cesaro. First singles match at Mania, so that would be great. So I'm going to go with Cesaro in that one. Then we have the Naomi, Lana, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, Riot Squad, Natty and Tamina, Carmella and Billie Kay Tag Team Turmoil tonight to find out who will challenge for the the women's, I don't know why I always say that, the women's tag team championships tomorrow night on night 2 against Nia and Shayna. I don't think that this match is going to go ahead as advertised. I think that they might do a little sneaky, pull a little sneaky on us, and have Carmella maybe no show, maybe get annoyed at Billie before they're about to go out for their entrance, and just be like, you know what, screw this, I don't want to deal with you, I'm out. And then Billie's going to be left there looking all sad, and then who comes to the rescue? Iconic Peyton Royce comes to the rescue, teams up, and then they reunite. So I think they might do that. In terms of who's gonna win, who should win is the Riot Squad, or the Iconics if they put them back together, because they never should have split them. If they weren't gonna actually give Peyton her singles push, which they're not doing, so put them back together. If that singles push is still in the works backstage and they're just waiting for the time, then yes, keep them separate, because I think Peyton has a huge potential to be a singles competitor. But if they're not going to do that, then why'd you split them? Just put them back together. The division needs it, really. But anyways, I think the Riot Squad should win. They made Natty and Tamina look real strong though on SmackDown last night. But then again, WWE 101 is look strong on the go home, lose at the pay-per-view. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't see Mandy and Dana winning it, and I can't see Lana and Naomi winning it. So I'm putting them out of it just immediately. In terms of, like I said, who should win, I think Riot Squad should win. But unfortunately, I don't think they will either, so I'm kind of putting it out of it. So I think it's down to Natty and Tamina, and Billie Kay and potentially Peyton Royce, the Iconics. My only thing there is, so like they've already started the tension, unfortunately, between Tamina and Nia, so they have an easy in there for a feud if they wanted to do it, which would suck, but whatever. But then again, also if you have the Iconics involved, you have a lot of ways to have the Iconics be able to win, and protect Nia because they want to, although I don't think they should, and then protect Shayna, which they should. So, yeah, the other thing to take into consideration here is Natty and Tamina would be heel with Nia and Shayna, and you have fans back. Do you really want to give fans a match that they're going to shit on? Because guess what? I'm telling you right now, if they do Tamina and Nia in front of fans, I don't care how excited the fans are that they're back, they are going to shit on that match because it deserves to be shit on, because it's not a good match. So, do you really want to... Like, not only is it bad for your product if you do that, but it's also bad for the talent, because, like, the talent, it's demoralizing, I feel like. You know what I mean? Fans are back. They're expecting everybody to pop for everybody and everything, and then they go out there and they just get shit on, and it's like, are we really that bad? And the answer is yes, honestly. But, like, they don't need to know that. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just, I don't know. Like I said, Riot Squad, I think, should win. If it goes ahead as Carmella and Billie, I think Riot Squad should win. If Billie and Peyton reunite, I feel like it'd be a waste of them reuniting to not give them the win. But unless you do like a double swerve and have Billie attack Peyton during the match or something for abandoning her, but I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah, man. My official prediction, I'm going to play it safe, I guess, and go Natty and Tamina, just because they had them look strong, and they're trying to fucking build up Nia and Tamina as Hogan Andre for the millionth time, even though I say this with the most sincerity I can muster. Nobody besides the families of the people involved gives a single fuck about that match. Nobody cares. Drop it, please. So, yeah, man. But, it's just... yeah, Riot Squad should win, but I'll go with Natty and Tamina, unfortunately, because I think that's what they're going to go ahead and do. I'll put in a conditional prediction that if they do Peyton and Billie getting back together with Carmella abandoning Billie, if they do that, then Iconics are going to win. And then I'm going to predict, I think regardless of what happens, I think the tag titles change hands on night 2. So I'll predict that now, even though that's on night 2. I think regardless of what happens, those titles, change hands tomorrow night. What they could do with the Iconics if they put them back together is, Nia and Shayna cost Tamina and Natalya, and then they cost them the night 2 because... You can't have those people lose clean, man. You can't have Tamina lose clean. You can't have Nia lose clean, but Shayna can lose clean, yeah, and Natty can lose clean, yeah. Natty's boring, but she's fantastic in the ring, at least. You know what I mean? Shayna's great in all accounts. So the two talented members of each partnership, they can look weak for the other one who's untalented, but there because of their family name and their heritage. Wow, Vince McMahon, thank you. But yeah. My prediction as the match stands is going to be Natty and Tamina. If they do that thing I said with the Iconics, with Carmella fucking off and then Peyton coming to the rescue, I think Iconics win. And then regardless, I think they win night 2, whoever faces the champion. So, yeah, man, that's the tag team turmoil match. So it's been a while since we've had a tag team turmoil match, so I'm actually excited for that. So, yeah. Next up, we got Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon in a steel cage match. Awful feud, awful build, nobody gives a fuck, and Shane McMahon is going to win the match. See, what would make sense here to happen is Braun beats the fuck out of Shane inside the cage for like 5 minutes. Elias and Riker come down. They try and hop in the cage. Braun kills them too. And then he kills Shane a little bit more, and then he wins the match. That's what makes sense. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. They are going to do either through or over the cage. Braun is going to either throw Shane through the cage door like that Lashley Umaga cage match, and break the thing and then go out to the ground or whatever, or he's gonna they're both gonna be climbing up and he's gonna like hit him that he falls over or like throws him down or something. And then Shane's gonna get on the mic either that night or the next night on Raw. Actually, 2 nights. On Raw, and be like, "Ha, see, I proved it. You're stupid." So yeah, that's gonna suck. I mean, it already sucks going in. Can I just remind you who we're talking about in this match, by the way? It's a, I don't know, like 50, 60-year-old executive of the company. And a man who is a former Universal Champion. A man who used to push over like 18-wheelers and use a grappling hook to take down scaffolding and stuff like that, and just survive like a garbage truck and all that stuff. We have Braun Strowman, and he's gonna lose a WrestleMania match to Shane McMahon. You know what I mean? And you might say, oh, you're just being pessimistic about WWE. Shane McMahon beat Miz in a screwy finish a couple Manias ago. Y'all remember that? When Miz should have won, George Mizanin got in the ring and provided maybe the funniest WrestleMania moment in history. Throwback to that. Shout out George. You know what I mean? And yeah. Like Shane won that because they did that big bump from like the elevated platform, and then Shane landed on Miz and won. Remember that? Remember how stupid that was? They're going to do that again. Because Shane McMahon gotta look strong at Mania. This network executive, brother, this fucking corporate executive who gets gassed walking down to the ring and has to fucking breathe into the mic heavy like he just ran a marathon after 2 seconds of getting down to the ring. He's gotta beat Braun fucking Strowman so he can keep calling him stupid. This is gonna be shit. If they do the right thing and Braun just kills him in a short match, fucking fair play. That's the right call. Alternatively, they could involve Dabba-Kato. I thought they might have done that at Chamber, but just because Dabba-Kato was like, from what I understand, because I wasn't watching when it happened, but when Raw Underground started, Dabba-Kato was kind of like, because Raw Underground was like Shane's kayfabe idea, and Dabba-Kato was kind of like his pet project. I think Dabba-Kato ended up getting injured. I don't know if he's cleared or not. I really don't. But if they wanted to reintroduce him, I feel like they would with Shane because they have that easy tie-in, that easy lead-in. So... You know what I mean? So you could have a Dabba-Kato involvement, and that's whatever. maybe they didn't want to do that at Mania in terms of a match, so they're saving it for the match after Mania because Dabba-Kato isn't big enough for a Mania match yet, I guess. So maybe they're gonna have him, get involved or something like that. I don't know. It would be better than Braun throwing him over the cage or through the cage, having Shane win, and Shane being like, "Ha, stupid." But I think that Shane's gonna win. So. That's going to stink. Sorry, Braun. I'm not even the biggest fan of Braun. And I feel so bad for the guy because dude's fucking putting this piece of shit program to get a loss to Shane probably at WrestleMania. I feel bad for him, honestly. Then we have Bad Bunny and Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. This one I feel like is one of the easiest ones to predict. Bad Bunny and Priest. I hope it's Priest who gets the pin, though, because I don't want to see Bad Bunny pinning Miz for the win. Although that's probably what's going to happen. It's probably going to be Priest does all the moves, and then Bad Bunny does a splash from the top or something, and then pins the Miz. Bad Bunny and Priest is my prediction, just straight up. The match should be okay as long as they limit Bad Bunny's time in there. Granted, we haven't seen any behind the scenes footage of Bad Bunny training, so we don't know how far along he's coming. He had a good working punch when he punched Miz in that segment a couple weeks ago. So I mean, his working punch is good. He swung a guitar well. He has taunting in between and after moves down. He does that naturally. It looks natural. It looks good when he does it. So and then obviously Priest is great. I've mentioned on the Raw reviews how I think he's got star potential. Morrison is obviously fantastic. Miz is good. You know what I mean? He's not as great as he was in 2016, obviously, but he's still fine. I would like to see Miz and Morrison, if they don't find a way to split them after this. I would like to see Miz and Morrison maybe go into the tag division, and instead of having them as the singles guys that are a tag team, you know what I mean? Because the Raw tag division needs it. And then if not, please just split them and give Morrison a US title run or something, because he's great. I'd love to see a serious Morrison singles run in WWE. But Priest and Bunny winning. I'll mention again, because a lot of people on Twitter hate that Bad Bunny's involved. They think he's taking spots. If you look at the match graphic that should be on the screen in the video right now, if you will look at the person to his left. Wait, not his left. Sorry. His left would be Miz. If you look at the person beside him over his right shoulder, which is Damian Priest, and then you see the two men on the other side, those are men that did not have WrestleMania programs set up before Bad Bunny got involved. Those are men that would have likely missed WrestleMania or have been shoved into the armbar if Bad Bunny was not there. He created a match for Priest. He created a match for Morrison. He created a match for Miz. And it's not him alone who's getting over. He's getting fucking Damian Priest over to casual fans, new eyes, and then he's getting him a spotlight WrestleMania match. Because yes, this is a kind of throwaway match. There's no stakes involved or anything. There's no titles, no number one contendership, whatever. But it's Bad Bunny. People are going to tune in to WrestleMania to see Bad Bunny because Bad Bunny is an international star. So just by that account, it's a spotlight match. You're giving an up-and-coming guy a spotlight match like Priest, and you're giving him a win in a spotlight match. It's doing a lot of good and almost no negative. You know what I mean? It's not like he's taking matches from everybody. He literally gave 3 people matches, bruh. So, yeah, man. The match quality, I'm excited actually to see how good Bad Bunny is or how bad he is. I mean, he cut a good promo on Raw, better promo than half the people on Raw usually do. He's got the promos down. Like I said, he's got the working punch down. He swung the guitar well. He's got the mannerisms and the taunts in between and after moves and stuff like that. So, I'm interested to see how he's going to be in the ring. I'm interested to see how long he'll spend in the ring, all that stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Bad Bunny and Priest for the win in that match. I feel like that's one of the most obvious ones. We get to another one that's pretty much a guaranteed result. We have the Raw Tag Team Championship, New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. Omos' in-ring debut, AJ Styles' chance to become a Grand Slam champion. AJ and Omos are winning. And that is actually the reason I've had a big problem with the build, because with a match that is so set in stone and so obvious what the result is going to be, to build it, because, like, so other than the fact, like, the match is weird because there are things to care about, but because the match is so obvious what's going to happen, you really don't care because it's like it already happened. Right? It's not like you're watching something happen. It's so obvious that you're sitting there and you're like, oh, okay, well, that happened already. The things that are about to happen, they were set in stone in the viewer's mind when it got announced. When they announced that this match is happening, you're like, okay, AJ's Grand Slam champion. Nice. Omos is going to win the titles in his debut. Nice. And AJ being Grand Slam champion is huge. It cements him alongside names like Kurt Angle and shit like that at the top of the industry. You know, to hold every championship in WWE, that's awesome. That's huge. It's incredibly important. So I'm happy for AJ. Omos winning in his debut at Mania, first of all, having his in-ring debut at Mania is huge. Winning the tag titles in his in-ring debut at Mania will be huge for him. So it's a great moment for Omos. The issue with the match and the build is they've had AJ take 3 straight singles losses, 2 of them pinfall and then one of them a DQ, after he had not lost pretty much in singles competition, one-on-one competition, for almost the entire pandemic. So they gave away 3 wins for no reason from AJ. So I've had a huge problem with this build. But, I mean, the match happening is fine. I would have liked it, I think, a few weeks ago on Raw Review when New Day won the Tag Team Championships and the Hurt Business lost the titles. I had said that I would have preferred if they did New Day, Hurt Business, and AJ and Omos, and then that way AJ and Omos can just pin New Day, and then you can get the titles off Hurt Business without, you know, having Hurt Business lose and disband and all that stuff. So, yeah, but I mean, the match should be good, because obviously Kofi's great, Woods is great, AJ's maybe the best in the world, and Omos, you know, he has an interesting dynamic. We have yet to see how he wrestles, but I'm excited to see it. So, yeah, the match quality should be good as long as Omos is half decent. You know what I mean? If he can just do the basics, then the match will be good because the other guys can work around it. If unfortunately he happens to be trash, then it's gonna suck. But I don't think he will be. I think he'll be fine. So I think he'll be a good big man wrestler. I think so that should be good. And like I said, AJ and Omos winning, I feel like is maybe the most obvious result on the card. But yeah, man. So I haven't been a fan of the build as a result of how obvious it is, but still, it's going to be a good match if they get given time, which they should because they have 2 nights, right? So yeah, man. Then we have Lashley and McIntyre. I think they officially announced that this is opening the show, but on the website they have it in this order, so I'm going by the website's order. But I think they officially announced that this is opening the show, which would be good. I don't like this match, and not because I don't like the people involved. I love both the guys involved. The build has been Her Business being broke up in the build has been awful, completely awful. So my thing here is that Drew's gonna win, and that's shit. And I've explained it in the Raw reviews, but I'll just explain it now in case you're somebody who hasn't watched the Raw reviews or you haven't watched the channel at all before, and this is the first video that you're watching. And if this is, I'm surprised you're still here, because I feel like a lot of people click off because of how much I ramble. And yeah, because I'm very critical. So yes, sir. But anyways, I think Lashley during this pandemic. Granted, I only started watching again in October, so I didn't see the early parts of the pandemic era. I didn't really see anything in the PC really besides Mania last year. The Thunderdome was pretty much in full effect by the time I had started watching. So, but anyways, the shitty thing with this is Drew didn't get his big win in front of fans last year, which he deserved. Right? Which is shit, because Drew absolutely deserved it. Drew's fantastic. Lashley, as part of the Hurt Business, has been the best thing on Raw, because the Hurt Business in total has been the best thing on Raw. And now they broke it up. Fuck you, Vince McMahon. And he's been protected, and he's been built up so strong. You have to remember, this is the guy who used to be in a feud over Lana, jumping out of cakes and stuff, talking about his sisters to Sami Zayn, showing his ass with Lio Rush, and then now he's the Almighty, right? They redeemed him so well. And I'm not saying that those things were bad that he was doing, because obviously the Lana and Rusev angle, it got a lot of views on YouTube. People watched it. It was successful. So why not run with it? You know what I mean? Fuck it. Whatever. Was it out of place in the modern era? Yeah, that was Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era kind of cheap stuff to do, sure. But I mean, people were watching it, so fuck it. Go with it. Lio Rush being an annoying announcer and stuff like that, it worked. Yeah, it worked. It worked fine. Lio Rush was great. Bring him back. Lashley. And then the sisters thing was just awful. But my point is, in TNA in 2013, when he was walking Armageddon or whatever the fuck, Lashley was incredible, man. He was just beating the fuck out of everybody. They had the Hurt Business prototype pretty much in TNA, which was the Beatdown Clan, which is MVP, Lashley, Joe, Kenny King, and I think they added Low-Ki for a little bit, because Low-Ki was in for a short time, and then he, I think, pissed somebody off and he had to leave again or something. That was when Joe was out the door as well, though, so he ended up leaving. But anyways, yeah. So I've always wanted that Lashley in WWE is the point of my whole tangent, because he was a monster in TNA, and it worked because it's believable, because it's fucking Bobby Lashley. The dude looks like he could kill you without breaking a sweat. So book him like that. And then when they finally started doing it now with Lashley, it's finally, you're using Lashley the right way. His full potential is being realized, and that's evidenced by him winning the championship. The unfortunate part is he's a placeholder champion, transitional champion, whatever you want to call it, so Drew can get a title win in front of the fans, which I think is bullshit. Not the fact that they needed to give him the win. I think I think Drew winning in front of the fans at Mania should have happened this year, just not at the expense of Lashley. If you wanted to, man, because this isn't main eventing anyways, so who cares? Just extend the Sheamus feud until Mania, open the show with this. People aren't going to be on side with Sheamus. They're going to be on side with Drew. Have him successfully retain the championship against Sheamus to open the show. There you fucking go. Perfect. Done. And then you could have had Lashley do something else and still look dominant and still have the Hurt Business together. But, you gave Lashley the title to take it away, which is bullshit, because Lashley shouldn't lose. Lashley should not lose. People are saying that that they're gonna boo Drew out of the building. I don't think they will. I think people still love Drew. I think a lot of people who are watching this are looking at it like, oh man, this is shitty, because one person deserves to win. They both deserve to win, but one of them has to lose, and we know which one's going to lose, and unfortunately happens to be the one who deserves to lose less out of the two. Neither should be losing. They should have been in separate matches, separate programs, with both of them winning, and then Lashley should have taken the title off of Drew after Mania. But yeah, there, you know what I mean. So Drew is gonna win. It's shit. If Drew wins and they put it right back on Lashley and Lashley holds it for like a year or for like 6 months or for like 8 months, then fuck it. Like, we can look past it, I guess. It's still going to be shitty, but like, if he ends up getting a huge long run, dominant run with it anyways, like, fuck it, why not? It's just, yeah, Drew's going to win, which I'm happy for him, but not at the expense of Lashley. It should not be at the expense of Lashley. So this is one of my least look forward to matches in terms of just the whole package of the match. In terms of the match itself, they're going to beat the fuck out of each other, and it's going to be awesome. It's going to be two fucking dudes who look like they could kill you, trying to kill each other for the championship. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great match. The fact that one of them has to lose is unfortunate, though. So, and the fact that we know who's going to lose is even more unfortunate, because it's, like I said, the guy who deserves to lose the least out of the two. So, yeah, man, Drew to win his championship back, unfortunately, and that's somebody who's a huge Drew fan saying that. But yeah, Drew for the win, I guess. And then in the main event of night one, we have Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Sasha is holding the title the wrong way in her picture in the match graphic, and it's pissing me off. Top of the logo to the middle to the center of your body inwards. Like, if you hold it around your waist, the logo's pointing up to your face. So if you have it on your shoulder, have the logo pointing in towards your face. Please. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves in wrestling, when people hold the title the way that Sasha is holding it in this match graphic. Please hold it the right way. I'm fucking begging you. Okay, please. But anyways, that's not really important. That's just me being very picky and having a pet peeve in wrestling. But yeah, man, this match should be great. I mean, Sasha's one of the best women's wrestlers in the world. Maybe the best right now in terms of like what they're doing consistently on a week to week and stuff like that. Because Charlotte, pandemic era Charlotte, like she left for a little bit, and since she's come back, she's kind of had some shaky matches. She's kind of had some botches. There have been a couple times in matches where I've watched those Charlotte matches, and it kind of looks to me like she's high in a couple of the matches, and not like smoking weed high where you're just like relaxed. She just looks like she's not all there, and I don't know if that's her actually being high, because I don't want to, be like, hey, Charlotte does drugs, and because like I don't know if she does, right? So I'm not going to go out here and say, oh, you do drugs for sure. She's not John Jones, you know what I mean? He does. We don't have any evidence. So any chance to take a dig at John Jones, man, fuck that guy. But anyways, so I don't want to, accuse or anything, but she looked like she was completely out of it. And it kind of gave me flashbacks to like sometimes when you see people who are like whacked out on drugs, it looked like that. I don't know if that was what it was, and she is, or if maybe she just was so uninterested in the segment that she was doing that she's just like, fuck, I don't care. I'm just going to go through the motions and get backstage and go home. So it could have easily been that. But anyways, the point of that spiel is that I think right now Sasha's probably the best women's wrestler in the world in terms of consistently maximizing their minutes that they're given. And maximizing their run and stuff like that. And then Bianca's obviously huge superstar potential in the women's division, and she's going to win this match. If they don't have her win this match, that is one of the biggest blunders in recent history. But you can't put it past them because they made two huge blunders last year, and they were for both women's titles. Actually, two of the three, because one of them was for the NXT one. Charlotte beating Rhea was trash, so that was a huge blunder. And then Becky retaining against Shayna was also trash, so that was a huge blunder. So, and I mean, going into last year, everybody thought Shayna was going to win. She dominated everybody in the chamber, I think, right, is what they did. They did her eliminating every single person in the chamber to earn the shot at Becky or whatever. Everybody thought Shayna was going to win, and they didn't. So I won't be surprised if Sasha retains. I will be pissed off like I was last year if Sasha retains. But I'm going to pick Bianca because I feel like not even they can fuck it up. I think, I said it on the SmackDown review, I feel like Bianca kind of telegraphs when she has a big win coming up because she kind of lets the emotions overflow a bit. Before the Rumble, when she beat Bayley on SmackDown, she was overcome with emotion and then she won. And I said, I think in that SmackDown review, I was like, yeah, she's winning. She was way too happy in her random win over Bayley on SmackDown to not be winning the Rumble. And she had that similar emotion in her backstage interview to me on the Go Home SmackDown. So I think she is winning. And that's the right call. The build has been shit. It's been the whole, can they coexist bullshit? But not only can they coexist because of a male valet being the focal point of the rivalry. So the build has been trash. I'm happy they're main eventing because it's culturally appropriate. Not appropriate. Culturally significant. That's the word. It's huge. You know what I mean? Singles women main event, 2 black women main eventing. It's huge culturally. And then in the kayfabe sort of sense of everything, it's the Rumble winner, so it should main event. So yeah, man, that's night 1. So let's move on to night 2, man. I'll just quick recap night 1 before we move on, just like a bullet points thing. Cesaro beat Seth. I think I said Tamina and Natty win the Turmoil and the women's tags. If there's no Peyton, but if Peyton replaces Carmella, then Iconics. Shane beats Braun. Bad Bunny and Priest beat Miz and Morrison. AJ and Amos beat New Day. Drew beats Lashley, unfortunately, and then Bianca defeats Sasha Banks on night 1. And then we move on to night 2. I think there's one missing. Oh, it's the women's tag title match. Yeah, okay. I covered that already. All right, so night 2, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens. I feel like this one's straightforward. With Sammy's gimmick that he's doing, he can take losses and not look bad. Honestly. With him being a conspiracy gimmick, he can take losses in creative ways and not be devalued by it because it's part of his gimmick. Also, I feel like you need to give Kevin Owens that big win because he had those 3 big... He had 3 big wins in essence against Roman, but on the record books and in terms of did he get the championship or not, he got 3 losses against Roman. That feud was great. It kind of ran a little bit long near the end, but it was great. It put both guys over. So I'm not saying that was a bad thing. I'm just saying he needs a on paper victory now, because he didn't get the on-paper victory against Roman. In the eyes of the fans, he got 3 victories because he did before Roman got the actual victories, right? But we need a on-paper win, an official win in the history books for Kevin Owens. At Mania would be a big one. He's going to probably jump off the pirate ship, which is going to be good. And then Sammy, can lose. On the flip side, you could have Logan get involved and cost Kevin Owens. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think people want to see that. I think what is more likely is that Sammy tries to get Logan to get involved. Maybe Logan messes up, screwing over Kevin Owens. And then Sammy starts yelling at Logan, why are you doing this to me, man? You're one of them. You're conspiring against me. You're with him. That's why you didn't do what I said. Stunner to Sammy, and then Kevin Owens wins or something. I want Kevin Owens to powerbomb Logan Paul through a table after the match, during the match, before the match. I don't care. Powerbomb Logan Paul through a table, please, Kevin Owens. He doesn't watch this, but if he, on the off chance, somehow does stumble upon this and is somehow still watching this 40 minutes nearly into me shitting on a lot of his colleagues, essentially, you know what I mean? If he's somehow still watching this, please powerbomb Logan Paul through a table, please, and jump off the pirate ship. That'd be cool. But he's not watching this. So, Kevin Owens, I think, makes sense for the win. Sammy doesn't need to win with his gimmick. Kevin Owens needs an on-paper win, most likely. If you know, at least in my opinion, he doesn't need it, but like, out of the two, he should probably get the win. So I'm going to say Kevin Owens for the win. There we go. On to the next one. We've got Big E versus Apollo Crews. This one is the one that I think is one of the biggest toss-ups of the night. Because Big E, they have looking strong, right? They have him looking strong. He's having a good run with that Intercontinental title. The problem is, Apollo also looks very strong. I should have mentioned it is a Nigerian drum fight, which a lot of people are being assholes about on Twitter. Oh, what is this match? We don't know what it is. Apollo literally explained what it is in his promo. No holds barred, but you know, with drums. Which I'm it sounds kind of dumb when you say it like that, but when he says it as, hey, no holds barred, no rules, so we can beat each other so bad that it sounds like our bones are cracking like the sound of drums, yeah, it's going to be a brutal match, is what he's saying. So, there you go. So, in terms of who should win, I think it's a tough one because I don't really think that Big E should lose his first singles match at Mania. But at the same time, Apollo kind of needs to win if this gimmick is going to be taken seriously in any regard. Because if not, he's going straight back down the card to not be featured. And I don't think that's right, because I think this gimmick's great for him. And I think he's great in the role. So it's a tough one. Because, you know, like I said, Big E probably shouldn't lose his first Mania match. And another thing is, it's a Nigerian drum fight, which, you know, I mean, did Kali ever win a Punjabi prison? And it was his match, you know what I mean? So, does that mean that Apollo's going to lose? Or is it going to be one of the rare cases of, hey, this is my match, I'm going to win my match, though? I don't know, man. This one's a toss-up to me. Because like I said, I don't think both guys should lose this match. Which I think it's a good problem to have when it's like this. When it's manufactured like the Drew and Lashley stuff, I think it's shit to have that problem where none of the people should lose. But when you have two people who are so fucking I don't want to say so fucking good, because it's not like Apollo's had like a year-long run as this guy, but like Apollo's new gimmick is so great. Big E is fantastic in this singles run. When you have two guys with so much momentum that neither should lose, it's a good problem to have when it's organic like this and natural like this. You know what I mean? Granted, you could argue it's not natural because Apollo's had like 18 title shots. But I don't know. I think... Oh, fuck. Honestly, I really don't know for this one. You know what, though? So here, my opinion on Big E not losing at this year's Mania is because I think that he should hold the Intercontinental title long, win the next year's Rumble, and then win the World title at Mania next year. The only thing there is maybe he's going to win the title earlier, so maybe they have him drop the title now so he's ready to win the title around SummerSlam. So maybe they're going to do that. I'm going to go with Apollo. But it's a toss-up, I think, in my opinion. Either man could win. I wouldn't be upset at either man winning, really. So yeah. Because like with Apollo, he does need the win, really, but at the same time, Big E is so good that if they want to give him a successful title defense at Mania, I'm not going to complain. So it's a case of like both men could benefit so much from the win, and both men are doing great work right now, that whoever wins, I'm going to be fine with, I think. But I'm going to go with Apollo winning the Intercontinental title. Then we have Riddle versus Sheamus. Sheamus is winning. He has to. Riddle, in his short run with the title, has been very underwhelming as a champion. His gimmick falls flat for me, personally. Sheamus has been one of the biggest, the best performers of the pandemic era. Great matches every week. Great feud with Drew. Didn't get a proper ending, I guess you could say. But I mean, they had that brutal match at Fastlane, so it kind of did. Give him the U.S. title to reward him for his year. Give him the U.S. title because he's more over as an act than bro. And maybe steer away from, hey, I'm high all the time, want to go eat and fucking do weed smoker things, guys. Maybe steer away from that with Riddle, because you have a former MMA fighter who's legitimately fucking good in the ring. Maybe lean into that a little bit more with his character, WWE. That'd be great. Sheamus for the win. I feel like this is one of the more obvious ones. So it's going to bite me in the ass when Riddle retains clean for absolutely no reason. But yeah, Sheamus for the win, I think, in my opinion. It makes sense. I think he'd be a better champion than Riddle, and I think from just a work ethic and a performances and a deserving factor, he's had such a great year. He deserves a reward, and I think the U.S. title is a good reward for the awesome year that Sheamus has had. So, Sheamus to win the U.S. Championship, in my opinion. And then we have Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. I feel like this one, it should be kind of obvious, but it's not, because of how they've booked the feud and how they've booked Rhea in the past. This should be obvious that Rhea's going to win, right? I think. It should be obvious. But they had Rhea debut, 3 weeks before the pay-per-view, come out and be like, hey, give me a title shot. And then the next week, contract signing. And then the next week, can they coexist? And she cost her tag team partner the match. And then that's the whole build after months of vignettes, right? If they would have debuted Rhea a couple weeks after the Royal Rumble, given her a big win at Chamber against somebody, given her a big win at Fastlane against somebody, Charlotte, in a number one contenders, that would have been good, and then built her up for the match, then, yeah, it would be obvious that Rhea wins. But the fact that Rhea just kind of showed up and said, hey, I want the shot, and then also the fact that she should have won last year. She was in line to win last year. And then WWE/Vince McMahon said, oh, Charlotte, pal. Makes me believe that they don't really see Rhea like that. On the flip side, Asuka's had an awful title reign, and it's not her fault. Asuka's fantastic. I think in terms of, I said right now, Sasha's probably the best women's wrestler in the world in terms of what she's doing on a consistent basis. I think when you look at women's wrestlers on a level playing field in terms of just looking at their talents and stuff like that, I feel like Asuka, in my opinion, is probably the best one in the world. But she's not being given a chance to show it because she's had an awfully booked title run. She hasn't defended this title since fucking TLC? No, TLC, she had the tag title match. Whatever was before TLC, Survivor Series maybe? Or no, they would have done the interpromotional thing at Survivor Series. When was the last time she defended that championship in a singles match? Against Alexa, I guess, on the Raw, right? Where Alexa got screwed over by Randy. Yeah. It's been an awfully booked title reign. She didn't even win it. She was handed it by Becky. So they wasted Money in the Bank for the women that year. Unfortunately, Asuka's had an awful title reign, so that kind of leads you into, oh, she's probably going to lose the title. But also, Rhea hasn't been built up, really. And they fucked her over last year, so this one, I think, is not like a complete toss-up like Apollo and Big E, but I feel like this one's a bit of a toss-up because, they've both been handled so poorly by management that it wouldn't surprise you if they handle one of them so poorly again. You know, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, they very clearly do not give a fuck. So, like, I'm going to go with Rhea Ripley as my prediction, but yeah. I could see it going either way, honestly. But it should be Rhea Ripley, so I'll go with Rhea Ripley as my prediction. Next, we've got Fiend versus Randy Orton. It's gotta be the Fiend, right? You can't have Fiend come back from fucking being burned alive to then just lose to Randy, right? I don't know if it's gonna be a cinematic match. It's not obviously a Funhouse match, unfortunately. A character assassination on Randy Orton would be hilarious to watch. I guarantee he'd put in a fucking rubbing his crotch on new employees gimmick in there, guaranteed. But yeah, look it up because Randy was maybe a bit of a dick when he was younger. So yeah, but anyways, I feel like Randy can't win this match. You know what I mean? If you want to redeem Fiend at least somewhat, you can't have Fiend just lose a match to Randy. You know what I mean? Unless Alexa like screws Fiend for whatever reason, you know what I mean? If Alexa, because they've kind of gone from the Fiend being the mastermind to Alexa kind of controlling the Fiend, right? Since they've written Fiend off with that burning and stuff. So if they want to fully cement that Alexa has been the leader in like controlling the Fiend, maybe she could screw him over to be like, hey, you failed me, and whatever, and then. I don't know, but logically, I wouldn't want to see that. At least not now. Maybe in like a year from now, and maybe Bray wants to stop doing the Fiend. Maybe the Fiend has run its course a year from now. Then maybe have Alexa be like, okay, yeah, I'm done with my toy. Bye bye. But right now, I don't want to see that. I don't think it would make much sense. So yeah, I think Fiend is the only option that makes sense here. You can't have a man who survived. You can't have a monster. Right, because he's not a man, who survived being burned alive, lose a singles match to just like Randy's a great wrestler. He's a Hall of Famer in the future, right? Absolutely. He's a man, and this is a singles match by all accounts, so the Fiend has to win, right? And then the main event of the evening, we have the triple threat for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns defends his championship against Edge and Daniel Bryan, like I said, in a triple threat match. First things first, Bryan's not winning. Bryan looked insanely strong. Not on the go-home, but the week before the go-home, which was technically like the unofficial go-home because the actual go-home was kind of like a glorified pre-show a little bit. But yeah, Bryan single-handedly disposed of Jay, left Roman and Edge laying, and WWE 101 looks strong on the go-home. You're losing at the pay-per-view. So, which, by the way, I don't think is the worst thing in the world to do that. It's just they do it so consistently that it kind of gives stuff away. You know what I mean? Because the logic is there, right? To have somebody look strong on the go home so that when they lose on the pay-per-view, they don't look as weak, right? Because then you can point back to the go home and be like, hey, but I'm capable of that. It's not like I'm not capable of anything. I'm capable of kicking your ass like that. You were just the better man that one night. So it puts over the person who wins and keeps the person who loses kind of strong because they were strong going in. You know what I mean? So the logic is there. It's just, I feel like they do it for every match, every pay-per-view, almost like consistently every time. So then at that point it becomes so a lot of WWE, a lot of criticism I have with WWE is they use stuff too often, because sporadically using a thing like Can They Coexist as like just a placeholder week or something, like if you're building a feud and you've got like 8 weeks to build it and you've thought of 7 weeks of great TV and then you need something to fill in that 8th week, fuck it, put a Can They Coexist, who cares, right? But if you do that for every rivalry every week 5 times in a month and then 5 times the next month, and you know what I mean, then it's like, brother, brother, come on now, right? So I feel like a lot of WWE criticism is that they over rely on these things that should be just a lazy out kind of thing, right? So, but yeah. Yeah, man. So Bryan's not winning. He's taken the pin as well, for sure. He is taking the pin. So sorry, Bryan. But I mean, he's in the main event of Mania. He's gonna get that big payday. So, you know, yeah. So Bryan's not winning, and I'll go out on a limb and say he's gonna take the pin. And now it's between Roman and Edge, who was originally slated as the main event. Obviously, they wanted to protect somebody in defeat when they added Bryan, right? And my opinion on that leads me to believe that Roman retains. Because if they wanted to protect Roman at WrestleMania, and they knew that they wanted to give Edge the win, they wouldn't have been booking this match from the start of January. Or the end of January, sorry. You know what I mean? This was very clearly the path on the first SmackDown after Rumble that they were going to take, right? So if you're building it that early, and you know you're going to do Edge and Roman, and you don't want Roman to look weak, you wouldn't do Edge and Roman that early without having Bryan already have a claim. Because guess what? Bryan didn't have a claim at all at that point. He was losing to Cesaro clean, and then they gave him the chamber last minute, I feel like, because they're like, shit, we don't want either man to lose. We got to get somebody in there to take the fall who belongs there. And Bryan belongs in the main event because Bryan's fantastic. So the fact that they inserted Bryan, and the fact that Roman's promo was Roman and Edge's promos were the best of the three. Like Bryan's was fantastic as well on the go home, but Edge's and Roman's were great too. I feel like Roman's gonna retain, because if the plan was to have Edge win the whole time, right? Then you don't need to put Bryan in there, because you wouldn't have booked the match. If you were like, okay, Edge is gonna win the Rumble, then he's gonna win the title at WrestleMania against Roman. You wouldn't even put that in your mind without having the Daniel Bryan idea there. And by the way, by how they were booking Bryan by putting over Cesaro in those weeks, they didn't have Bryan in mind for that, right? Again, this is just speculation on my account. So, with that in mind, I think that what happened was they did Edge and Roman. Then they were like, fuck, we don't want Edge to take the fall. Let's shove Bryan in there. And I feel like that's where the triple threat came from. So I think that Roman is going to pin Bryan to retain. I think after that, you could have Edge and Bryan have a number one contenders match at the next pay-per-view, with Edge winning, and then you can finally have Edge and Roman singles down the line. So yeah, but my official prediction will be Roman retaining. But in honesty, it is a little bit of a toss-up between Roman and Edge. I don't think Bryan's going to win at all. I don't think he should win either. In terms of who should win, in my opinion, Roman should retain. I don't think Roman should lose that title until a new star can be made from dropping the title. And by that, I mean propelling Cesaro into the main event, propelling Big E into the main event. They won't do it, but propelling Buddy Murphy into the main event, giving Shinsuke his title run, because I still think he hasn't had a world title run in WWE, right? So, yeah, like, use it to make somebody new, to propel somebody new. Edge doesn't need it. Edge is a Hall of Famer. Bryan doesn't need it. Bryan's had his big Mania moment, and he's a guaranteed Hall of Famer anyways. If Bryan retires tomorrow, he's in the Hall of Fame next year. Easy. So, yeah, man. I don't think Roman should lose. And I feel like they just didn't want to have Edge lose off of winning the Rumble so dominantly, going 1-30. So they put Bryan in there. Then they can do probably Edge and Bryan, which would be great, and then lead up to Edge and Roman a little bit. And then at that point, I still don't think they should put it on Edge. Edge doesn't need the title, man. Like, a lot of people, when Edge came back, they had this huge nostalgia rush, and they're like, yes, Edge, he's awesome. And yes, Edge is awesome. Edge also started wrestling in the 90s. And he was planning on retiring a year after he was forced to anyways. He was on his way out. He said that. He said, I was probably going to retire with a match against Christian at the next Mania. He said that. Maybe he didn't. I'm fairly certain he did, though. I think I read or heard him say that audio, but I'm like 99% certain I've read that he said that or have heard that he said that directly from him, that he was going to retire anyways a year from now, but it still sucked that it got taken away, right? So like, and my point of that isn't to not be happy that he came back. My point of that is to be like, he was on his way out willingly 10 years ago. He was thinking about stopping on his own merit 10 years ago. That a guy like that should not be the WWE champion today. They don't need it. He doesn't need it. It's not like if he was Christian, right? Then okay, you can argue, yeah, give Christian the big one because he never got it. He got that win against Del Rio, and then he had that feud against Randy, sure, but he never got it. He never got that Mania win. He never got the title. He never, you know what I mean? If it was Christian in Edge's shoes, then I'd be like, yeah, this is a guy who should have had everything, who got barely anything. Give him the one main thing because he earned it all those years ago, and he's here now. You might as well. Edge already got everything. He doesn't need anything. Why would you give it to him? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, it would make sense in terms of like, hey, you worked really hard to get back and we want to reward you because, you know, you did a fucking ridiculously cool thing. You recovered from triple neck fusion surgery. That's genuinely nothing to laugh at. That's insane. You're a fucking animal and you're passionate. Yeah, but I mean, if you gave everybody a title for being passionate, the title would change hands every day. So, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just pick and choose and be like, hey, this guy's passionate, we'll give him the title. You think Buddy Murphy isn't passionate? You think Andrade wasn't passionate? You think Garza isn't passionate? You think Ricochet, Mustafa Ali aren't passionate? They're not even on TV. Aleister Black, you think Aleister Black's not passionate? He's not on TV. None of them are on TV. They're in catering every week. Oh, but because this guy's passionate, he gets the title. Passion's important, but passion, everybody has it in this business. You have to have it. So you can't just sit there and be like, oh, you're passionate, you deserve it. Because then the title, like I said, will change hands every day because you've got a whole roster full of passionate people. You have to look at what makes sense for the product. And what makes sense for the product, in my opinion, is not Edge winning the title. He doesn't need it. Bryan doesn't need it. Roman should keep it because he's on a great run until, like I said, somebody like Cesaro, somebody like Big E, somebody like Shinsuke, somebody like Buddy Murphy. Granted, I'm putting Buddy Murphy in there because I think Murphy's incredible. Gable, even, it should be a main event guy if they book him right. Like, all these guys, it should be one of those guys when they're ready to be like, hey, you're awesome, put the title on them. You don't need to hotshot it to Edge for the feel-good story. You don't need to. If you do, you know what? Fair play, Edge. Cool, man. Fair play. You worked hard and you got it. Cool. Are you going to go give the title to the other guys who work hard in the back, though? Because they work hard. You know what I mean? I'm probably sounding like an asshole right now, but I just don't think... You know what I mean? I just don't... Yeah, you know? Like... I don't know. I think Roman should retain. I think Roman will retain. But it is a toss-up between Roman and Edge, I feel like. So if Edge wins, I won't be surprised. I will be disappointed, but I won't be surprised. So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Mania should be okay, I think. I'll just quickly run through my night 2 predictions again. Kevin Owens beats Sammy. Apollo beats Big E. Sheamus beats Riddle. Rhea Ripley beats Asuka. Fiend beats Randall Keith. And then Roman Reigns retains the Universal Championship. Yeah, man. I'm kind of excited for the card. Not for the card as a whole, but I'm excited to see Bianca get her big moment. I'm excited to see... I'm not really excited to see the Priest match, but I'm excited that Priest is going to get a huge Mania moment that's going to have a lot of media attraction because he's going to be on news. He's going to be on the news. Bad Bunny and win match at WrestleMania. Now he's on national television. You know what I mean? So I'm excited for Cesaro and Seth. Might be the match I'm most excited for on the whole card because it could be Cesaro's finally them taking him seriously, getting a clean win against Seth. Like I said, Seth is incredibly protected, so it would be huge. I'm excited for the triple threat. Honestly, it's going to be great. You'd think I'd be excited for Fiend because I'm a huge Fiend guy, but the heat in this rivalry, it's been gone for a little bit, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm excited to see what Randy and Fiend do after this is done, at least. And I'm excited for Big E and Apollo. And yeah, I'm excited for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in terms of just like, it'll be a good match, but the whole thing doesn't really excite me too much, I guess. But it should be a very fun match, like I said. So, yeah, man, those are my predictions. Let me know, like I said earlier in the video, let me know what you guys' predictions are down in the comments below. Do you agree with my predictions? Do you disagree? If you disagree with one of my predictions, let me know why. Let me know the reasoning. It's always good to hear other opinions on the wrestling. If this is the first video that you're watching from the series, you can check out a link. What am I doing? A link to some of my other series at the end cards, primarily a GM mode series that I do where I book my own storyline. So if you'd like to see how I book wrestling after I critique wrestling, you could do that as well as some other gameplay stuff on the channel. If you'd like to join the Discord server for the watch along, link in the description. Follow me on Twitter, link in the description. Please sponsor me, Peace Tea. Gotta get that sponsor me gimmick in there. And yeah, man. You know, be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode because YouTube likes to zuck you boy and not put my videos in your sub boxes. So by pressing that nice old bell icon, you'll get a push notification anytime I do upload and you'll never have to miss it. And yeah, man. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, share to all your friends, comment down below, all that good shit. And I will see you guys next time.
We are number one.